days of old, the competition was fought in a coliseum on one horse using one lance. Today, the people file into the stadium and the weapons of choice are 900 horsepower, 4,000-pound trucks. The modern-day gladiators are in Southern California and ready for the battle. With 4 rounds complete, the stars of championship off-road racing make their return to Pomona, California. In a land known for earthquakes, Carl and Rob McCachran both shook the off-road world with back-to-back wins here in rounds 1 and 2. While McCachran has maintained his dominance in the Pro 2 class, Renazetter slipped through the cracks, falling to 4th in the points. And for the first time in his career, Rick Huseman finds himself leading the Pro 4 field. In Pro Life, there's been 4 different winners in the first 4 rounds, but none of those wins belong to the points leader, Rodrigo Ampudia, who has earned his way to the top with 4 podium finishes. With the new truck blues gone, it's go time. The fairgrounds at Pomona have started to shake, and every driver hopes they'll be the one to tip the Richter scale off-road style. It is a spectacular day here in Southern California at the Fairplex in Pomona. Pomona, California, about a half an hour away from Los Angeles. And the fans are in for a spectacular show as the best in the business with championship off-road racing have all come out here to do battles for the 3rd event of the 2008 season. They're lined up and ready to rock and roll, and we're ready to bring you a spectacular show. Stout Steel with you. Cameron, nice to have you back, my friend. Let's talk about this Pro 2 division. One of the guys we have to speak about, of course, is Rob McCachran. 3 wins out of the first 4 races already. He is on it.
I'm here to say that he is the best driver in all of off-road racing, and what he's really good at is truck setup and being able to tell his engineer and the people that he's working with, a crew that he's familiar with as well, even though it is a new team. He has an engineer who's been around for 10 years in the past. He gets out of the truck, he knows what to do. Setup is always premier when you're getting out there to race, and Rob McCachran is better than everybody when it comes to saying, this is what I need.
And I think the theme of this show is going to be, it's go time. The teams have to be ready to make a charge for a championship right now. And another team that kind of found that sweet spot in Prim just one event ago was Jeremy McGrath. The shock package on the truck was good. He said for the first time inside of the truck, he was ready to go racing.
Definitely, and Jeremy McGrath is a guy like Rob McCachran that knows how to tune his equipment. He's done it his whole life on the motorcycle. Now he's just transitioning it to truck races. The guy was the king of Supercross. He could be the king of CORR someday. He gets out, tells him what he needs, gets it done, and guess what? McGrath is getting it done right now. Exciting to watch him make that transition.
Well, there's another guy that has a brand new team and a brand new truck, and at Prim, they found the sweet spot. He laid down the quickest lap of the race. And with more on him, the reigning class champion, let's go to Kelly Stavist.
Well, Ken, Jerry Welchel moved from a 7-time championship truck into a brand new Pro 2 this year. Now, we've seen you running pretty consistently in the top 5. Where is this truck at today?
Well, today the truck's come a long way. It's our 5th round here in CORR this year, and this truck's came leaps and bounds for the whole year. We've taken a lot of weight off of it. We started out a little bit slow, had some shock trouble, you know, the regular gremlins that you have with a new truck. But today we really feel like we have a good truck, a truck that can win, and Chet Hubman, you know, gives me the best equipment I can have, and we brought it out here today, and we brought it to give to him today.
How tough was it to go with a brand new truck to defend your title when you had a proven truck behind you last season?
Yeah, running a 9 or 10-year-old truck that had 6 championships in it before I got it was really a gift to me. So we tried to take a lot of those ideas and put them in this truck, but then at the same time we tried to make this truck a little different to make it better. Well, you know, it takes a little time and some test time. We're a little bit behind the ball, but we really feel good about today. The truck's running better than it's ever ran, and we're looking for a podium today.
All right, he's looking for that first win of the season, Ken.
Last-minute preparations have all been made to the Pro 2 drivers. The best in the business, the top 17. They're all inside of those trucks and ready to go to battle. It's all next here on Speed. Championship Off-Road Racing on Speed is brought to you by Amsoil, the first in synthetics. Monster Energy Drink. Toyota, moving forward. Bully Dog, the leader in performance products for your gas and diesel-powered truck and SUV. KMC Wheels, like no other. And by Kumho Tires. What a spectacular day here in Southern California as we watch the Pro 2 category run around here. 29 trucks out here today trying to qualify for this race. On the front row, it'll be Alan Pfluger and Todd LeDuc as they have inverted the top 6.
So getting the lucky coin, so to speak, is Alan Pfluger moving to the pole. Jerry Welchel in a truck he's been working hard on, and then 2 hard chargers.
Ricky Johnson and Rob McCackman will be in row 3. Evan Evans with a nice qualifying effort in 7th. And Jesse Jones, very happy he qualified in 8th.
And Johnny Greaves, of course, not totally in tune with the Pro 2 thing yet, coming from the Pro 4 success. He says he's getting there. Mike Oberg, Greg Adler back there together, and then Jeremy McGrath not having the qualifying he wanted to go with.
Rodrigo Ampudia pulling double duty. He'll also be in a pro light truck later. Robbie Woods, a spectacular story as well. And how about that? Starting dead last, Carl Renesetter will have to start off and work hard here. Now let's talk about this racetrack here because, Cam, this one is different.
It is different, a lot of similarities, but from the start, the first thing you're gonna notice is the dirt carries on quite a bit more, but asphalt in turn 1, then in turn 2, it transitions back to the dirt. A little step-up jump, it's got a little bit of a kick into the tabletop. Lots of crazy banking turns in 3. We're gonna see some inversions there, and then, of course, drop it down into turn 4, hold it together, jump into the rhythm section, the hot pit on the outside, but turn 5 is where a lot of chaos will go down with that technical whoop section prior to it.
Hang on tight, because we're going to take you for a ride with Jeremy McGrath, a great onboard shot there. We have 3 different onboard cameras here today, and Rob McCackman will also be carrying one for us. We'll get to watch him go to work inside of the cockpit. And the class champion, Jerry Welchel, will also have an onboard. And it's always fun to watch him because, as you can see right there, he tends to run the belts a little loose.
A little loose, a little scary, but what's great about these onboards is we have guys that are going to be doing work to get to the front. It's going to be incredible. Let's talk about the Toyota keys to the race. I really believe throttle control and finding your traction is key here. You look cool stomping on the throttle and throwing a roost and getting sideways, but you're not moving forward. Something to think about. Don't overdrive the asphalt, people. There's not as much of it here, but if you drive hard into that turn with the asphalt, you could push through, get in the marbles. We're gonna see a lot of horsepower going sideways. And then last but not least, stay out of the yard sale. What does that mean? Well, lappers, crashers, and just the general CORR freak show. Get away from it, get to the front, and keep your nose clean.
Yard sale, huh?
You like that?
I like that, man. That's where I found my shirt.
That's what it looks like when stuff flies around.
You know, there's a great story. Mike Johnson in his rookie season has raced sprint cars and midgets, showed up here sitting 6th in the points.
I talked to him, you know, he's a stunt driver. He worked in Rush Hour 3. He's got some films he's working on right now. Been to Baja, done a lot of racing, rally racing as well. He says he loves it here. This is exactly where he wants to be. He credits Alan Pfluger with giving him a ton of help. Of course, they are teammates.
Something else we should tell you is that they have wet this track down. It is very sloppy right now. It's going to be some sketchy first laps, and look at the weather here. It is spectacular. 80 degrees, not a cloud in the sky, winds 5 to 10 miles per hour, and the place is packed. Todd LeDuc pushes way out as they try to get him lined up here. We're looking for a green flag. Are they going to get it? They do get it. We are racing in Pomona, the 3rd event of the 2008 season, and look how wet it is, Cam.
Ice skating on the asphalt. That is going to be a huge issue for these. Alan Pfluger coming around. He's able to save it. It is so slick out there. The dirt itself is very slippery. All the drivers have been saying, but hey, you know what happens if you put a little water on asphalt? Grease lightning, baby.
And then, of course, that mixed with the mud as they finally get settled down. And you can see these guys are all over the place. Now it's Mike Johnson who gets in trouble.
And he's got to be careful. Looks like he might get pushed into that barrier there. Mike Oberg making contact. They're going to move to the back of the field, but so far a relatively clean start. And guess what? Todd LeDuc may have got a little sideways in the first corner before he got the green, but he's put it together to lead the pack.
I don't know if clean is the word I'd use.
Well, when you see CORR Race Championship Off-Road Racing, anything can happen. Here's where it's icy. Look how tender they are with the throttles. You see a lot of roost. Someone might be standing on it too hard. Look at Welchel looking for the line to the inside.
Little contact right there as Todd LeDuc slams the door on him. Welchel in second. Then it looked like Rob McCachran or RJ in third.
RJ right there, and of course, Rob McCachran, the technician. Watch Rob as he tries to race forward. Jerry Welchel on the gas. He will throw it down. He'll throw it sideways. He'll get crazy. Rob McCachran has a tendency to be a little more conservative, drive it to the inside, keep the truck a little straighter. We'll see how they mesh out. Now, Ricky Johnson in the mix there is right in the middle of those two, a combination of both.
Todd LeDuc. Nice line right there. It looks like he went the high side, then down low. Let's send it down to Kelly.
Well, Ricky Johnson told me just before the race he had a feeling they were going to water it a little much and it was going to be sloppy. So he told me it was really important to keep his truck in one piece, keep it clean until the yellow. But he said, I'm going to have the hammer down. I know that this truck can go 100% the whole race, and I'm not worried about fatigue myself. So watch for him to charge.
And Ricky Johnson qualifying in the number 2 position, just 0.04 of a second off of McCachran. So definitely has a strong truck. They've been working on the transmission of that truck over the past few races. He feels like he finally has that combination worked out.
And Jerry Welchel, we got to point out, he started with the new truck at the beginning of the year, just like Rob did. But Jerry and the guys at Alpha Race Cars, Johnny Kaiser, built a beautiful truck. They've been trying to find their groove, and they've changed a ton on the sway bars. In fact, got rid of the front sway bar. And look at this. We have a truck around all kinds of carnage as we look back.
Carl Renesetter, he started dead last, and he'd gotten around a lot of trucks, but then loops it right here. Don't know if he got any help or not. Alan Pfluger, who was on the pole, way in the back as well. So these guys really having a tough start. Speaking of Carl Renesetter, Kelly, you've got more.
Well, he told me just there at the starting grid that it was actually going to be a little bit fun for him to start at the back. He said, I've got a lot of racing to do, but he knew he'd have to get through those guys in the back cleanly. He hopes to be in the top 5 by the yellow, Ken.
Currently 13th right now, started, as you can see, in the back of the pack. And, well, I tell you, guys, keep looping it in front of him. He'll keep going to the front.
And McCachran and Johnson battling. Let's not forget that Carl Renesetter has been on the podium in all 4 rounds thus far. So definitely a driver we know is technical enough to get to the front regardless of what happens. I like this battle shaping up. These two drivers familiar with each other. We talked about Rob being a technician. Ricky Johnson somewhere in both ends. And remember, he comes from a motocross and supercross background. He has proven time and time again that he is one of the greatest off-road race car drivers there is. That's what I love about this field. So many great names, so many great talents, and so many thinking race car drivers. Guys that think about what's happening while they're racing.
Johnny Greaves moving up towards the front there, and it looks like Welton's gone to the back of it. Also see Scott Taylor, and a big puff of smoke out of Taylor's truck.
I've been seeing it all morning from Taylor. He's out in practice and qualifying, puffs of smoke. I'm not sure what that situation was there, but they didn't seem to be too concerned. And driving the tires off of it on the asphalt. You got to be careful. If you drive it sideways, you're going to use those tires up.
You know, it's difficult to see because it's very small, but Taylor has added a cat's tail to the back of that truck, and looks like Johnny Greaves got a good look at it right there.
Johnny didn't think it was a cat's tail. He thought it was a bullseye. Gave him a little help around there.
But when he was sponsored by Exxon, he had that cat's tail back there, and he felt like it was good luck. Let's go back here. This is Alan Pfluger.
Pfluger and Geyser together, and this is what happens. Slippery out, you get out, you're out in the back of the pack. Looks like Pfluger also has a tire down there. But back to the front, Battle Royale, and Todd LeDuc, kudos, a brand new truck for LeDuc this year. They said they've been very happy with the way things have been going.
Todd LeDuc really stepped up a couple of years ago. People thought he was a fluke, but he has maintained that top 5 status on a regular basis, and certainly one of the big names in this series now. Let's talk about tires for a moment here, Cam, because the cut on these tires are critical. We'll spend a little more time on that later in the show as well, but the cut here has to be critical because these guys are going to start off on a wet, sloppy track and then eventually have to go to a dry track. Kelly, more on Todd.
Yeah, Ted, he's just happy to be out here. He lost the underdrive in qualifying, did not have a spare. Carl Renesetter came up big time, had a complete underdrive, just gave it to him. He's hoping he'll get his own fix to tomorrow so that he can return it to Carl, but he said, I owe Carl a huge thanks, and he's glad they're on good terms.
Looks like they're all fighting for the same piece of real estate. They were running to the bottom down there. But, back to the tire story. Right now, it's a critical decision on how you cut those tires.
I watched Johnny Greaves out there grooving his own tires. He wanted it done his way. And if you're too aggressive on your groove, it's not going to work at the end of the race. You start burning up the lugs. You cut it open too much. But these guys right now, anybody that cut their lugs open and were ready for this mud, they're really feeling the power right now. And it's kind of a crapshoot too, because you never know how much water is going to go down on the track prior to the race.
Jerry Welchel, we went on board with him a moment ago. That's a look at him right there. Chet Motorsports and Chet Huffman out there trying to make it happen, putting together a brand new team, giving them a great opportunity. Look at these guys going at it.
And going for the lead is Rob McCacken. You see him driving around the outside. You know it's slippery out there, so he's being very tender. And here comes Johnson.
RJ up beside him. RJ's going to get the spot on Mac, so Mac going for the lead, and it's going to cost him second spot, it looks like.
It is, and look at Rob out in the marbles, but he's got the inside drive apexing here. It's risky. You go for a move. He's looking for a line on Todd LeDuc. Rob Mack goes to the outside, and it has been pretty clear the inside line has been used up and is drying up and getting more traction right now. Ricky Johnson stays down in there and makes the move to the inside.
Well, Ricky Johnson putting a bumper right there on Todd. I don't think he meant to do that. I think he's just running in that turn a little hotter. But we have to go back to the relationship between Todd LeDuc and Ricky Johnson, because that has been quite the rivalry over the past couple of years.
I guess it would be fair to say that they're not the best of buddies. And look at this, Todd driving it hot to the inside. We talked about Rob Mack, who will drive it a little more calmly to the inside. We just saw Rick Johnson do the exact same thing as we see the yellow come out.
So the mandatory yellow will come out here. An important step. We'll see if Todd LeDuc was in fact leading. I believe he was when he came across that stripe, because that's all valuable points. It's 6 points.
A points payday, so that's what they're looking for when they get to the yellow. They're going to rack them up, and we're going to get ready to rock and roll for the second half of this race.
Speaking of the points, there you go. First place at the mandatory yellow, 6 bonus points. Second place, third place, 1 points also for qualifying. When we come back, we'll fire them all up again. The Pro 2s, we're going to have a winner when we come back. All the beautiful people here in Southern California supporting their off-road craze, and we're certainly glad to have them with us. Todd LeDuc on top of the field, Ricky Johnson, Rob McCacken round out the top 3, with Taylor and Welchel rounding out the top 5. Let's go back to this great move.
And this is the corner that's been tricky, a little more slippery on the outside. Rob Mack driving a little bit deeper, trying to get a run on LeDuc. Guess what? Ricky Johnson gets to the bottom as we go green flag racing.
Todd LeDuc out in front of 2 of the best in the business, breathing down his back, and we don't want to forget about that 6-time champion back there as well. Scott Taylor doing all he can do as everybody gets bunched back up, and it looks like the asphalt really peeling up there.
A thing of beauty when it all goes right off these giant jumps, over 80 feet over that tabletop. Todd LeDuc right now, brand new truck. He and his family, a racing family, of course. Kyle and his dad both racing Pro 4. And, you know, Todd has been one of those drivers that is good in all situations. He's willing to hang it out, but he's also smart enough to know when he needs to reel it in. And right now, I really like the way he's keeping his lines where he wants to drive, and he's driving very smooth, where these guys are getting a little crazy back here. Look at Welchel diving to the inside, making contact, trying to get by Scott Taylor.
And McCacken looks like he got back around Ricky Johnson, so he's in second place. And we also saw McGrath. Here comes Carl Renezetter, and Renezetter's working his way up through the pile as well, sitting right now in 7th place. So it's been a good run for him, and he's got a long ways to go if he's going to get back up onto that podium. The Lucas Oil machine looking pretty good.
And you see the number 76 there. That's Jesse Jones, followed immediately by the number 10 of Greg Adler. Oh, it looks like it was
Johnny's
Greaves.
going to loop it
Johnny
right there,
Greaves
yeah.
did go around in that corner. One of
Jeremy
the
McGrath,
turns.
who put together a couple of podiums at our last 2 events, and right now trying to fight for another one, Kelly.
He qualified 13th. He's up to 6th, although Carl just got him there. But he told me they've switched trucks. They're not in the truck he ran the first 4 rounds in. It has a stronger motor and it's lighter weight, but he said they may have jumped the gun a little bit because he was unable to practice, and he's still just getting comfortable inside this truck.
Taking a look at CORR Renazetter, big problems for him.
And you saw him pushing by McGrath, and you know, they run low tire pressure, they do run the bead locks, but you step out a little bit, you make contact, you can rip that tire off the bead, and unfortunately for the Lucas Oil Products truck, he's out with the flat. He's going to try to make it to the hot pits to salvage as many points as he can, but that's like throwing the anchor out. Here's the contact with McGrath.
Oh, right there. It looks like it just popped it off the bead.
It did. It pushed it to the outside. He lands a little bit on McGrath's hood, pushes the outside tire down, and pops it right off the bead like you said, Ken. Unfortunate for Carl.
Back to the front. Once again, looks like Ricky Johnson trying to pull that same move on Rob McCackron. Todd LeDuc with a Makita sponsorship now on board. Also the Rockstar sponsorship. Came out here, finished 4th in the first 2 rounds. 4th and a 4th, so he loves this place. He's very good, and he's got an opportunity to bring home a win.
Looking up the left, you're good. Run it.
Getting a little radio love there. Not sure who with. And check it out, Rob McCackron. He's been looking at lines, watching Todd drive. He dives to the inside.
And Todd's truck just did not turn right there. You can see he checked up to let Rob get underneath him, and then it looked like the truck was pushing. That is radio transmission, by the way, for Todd LeDuc, and making another run at Rob.
Oh, and Rob really high catches that edge up there on the asphalt. Got to be careful.
Here
Ricky
comes
Johnson.
RJ. 3 wide. 3 wide through the rhythm section. RJ going for it.
And you see McCackron checking up, trying to get to the inside. And
Clear. They spawn. Clear. No.
It's going to cause them both. I think they only lost 1 spot, but all that real estate is what really hurt them. Taylor getting in front of McCackron. McCackron now falls back to about 5th place. And of course, that's great for Todd LeDuc.
And you heard his spotter saying, clear. They spun, so he knows instantly that he doesn't have to drive the tires off it going into the asphalt. He can drive it smooth and smart. There's not someone right on his inside. So you saw as laps are winding down, McCackron decides to go for it. Ricky Johnson sees an opening. He's trying to make the move in there. And right now, guess what? Jerry Welchel stepping it up, and he is now in 2nd place, looking at the back of Todd LeDuc.
The Red Bull machine back there in 3rd with a long ways to go, Kelly.
When we talk about that rivalry between Todd LeDuc and Ricky Johnson, but don't you get the feeling there's a little something there between Rob McCackron and Ricky Johnson now? Ricky, of course, driving Rob's truck from last year and certainly wants to prove that he can turn it into a championship truck. And believe me, when they get done qualifying, they're looking at those times, and Ricky was not too happy that Rob got him by 1/10 of a second.
Yeah, I think that's a rivalry, a good rivalry of drivers. I think each feels like they're the best out there, and Kelly's exactly right. I mean, they're really watching those times. It means a lot to them.
And Max setting up early, trying to get to the inside of Taylor.
Man, we saw RJ just roasting that right rear tire on the asphalt. It's typically not his driving style, but with only a couple laps left to go, you can throw caution to the wind and go for it.
And Mac right now still battling with Taylor. You see Ricky Johnson is pulled up on on Jerry Welchel in the Chet Huffman racing vehicle. Got lots of yellow flags. Let's see if he can make this inside line work. The puff of smoke from Taylor continues to come.
Scott Taylor looking for his best finish of the 2008 season if he can hang in here. Had a 7th and a 6th place finish. That's as good as he's done so far. That happened here. Up front, Todd LeDuc in the number 3 truck, followed by Jerry Welchel, the defending class champion, of course.
And lappers getting out of the way. It's always a class act. You'd hate to be a lapper and be the guy that causes a pile up with the leaders. We have seen it in many classes here at CORR already this year. The lappers have to be smart and get out of the way. And right now, clean racing with the 3 lead trucks.
Boy, it looked like RJ was really making a run, and now we've got a wreck between Taylor and McCackron. Again, McCackron gets snake bit in this turn in this race.
Now,
oh my goodness, they are losing all kinds of positions.
Now Mac had the line on him coming around the outside of the whoops. He gets it sideways right in front of Taylor, and I mean, what are you gonna do? The truck's red. Oh!
Jerry Welchel clips a K-rail and it kicks the truck over sideways, and his day will be done. You know, he hangs that thing out all the time. I mean, he'll go as sideways as anybody. We'll have another look. Just clips that K-rail right there.
And you can see just big contact, blew a tire out on contact. Not sure if there will be heavy damage to the truck, but just throwing it back the opposite direction. Big break for Ricky Johnson, who was right there, not tangled up in it, but now he has a clean shot to take a look at the back of LeDuc.
And Todd LeDuc, Todd LeDuc coming across the checkered flag, brings home his first win of the 2008 season. All the antics that happened behind him open up the door. Here comes Jeremy McGrath. We talked about it. Started 13th, man. What a great run.
Putting together smart driving for McGrath, taking advantage of the chaos. And how about Carl Renezetter? He might be a lap down there, actually, but he was right. It looked like he was there in the mix. But
the fact that McCackron, after all that, salvaged a fourth-place finish is pretty spectacular. And Scott Taylor, with his best finish of the 2008 season, brings it home in 5th place. Man, oh man, that's just race 1. We've got 2 more great races to go, and it's only going to get better. Come on back to Pomona. Welcome back to Championship Off-Road Racing, where the unofficial results for the Pro 2 race find Todd LeDuc on top, followed by Ricky Johnson, Jeremy McGrath, Rob McCackron, and Scott Taylor, who round out the top 5 in a very sketchy race. The track was very wet at the start of this race, Cam, and these guys were everywhere.
They needed ice skates, not tires out there. Man, they were working it hard. There was some carnage. You got to love it. These boys throw it down and throw it down hard. Jerry Walchel wanted nothing but the win, and he was hanging it out and got bit right at the end.
Well, Kelly Stavis, Todd LeDuc looked like he might not even get to the starting line as he was on the front row there. It looked like a little sloppy, but it all paid off.
Well, Ken, it's not where you start, it's how you finish. And for Todd LeDuc, his first win on the season. And as Ken just said, at the start, it looked like you were having problems even getting up to speed for the green flag. What was going on?
Oh, my God. I was telling my dad on the radio, I'm like, the track is so muddy. I couldn't even get my car to turn. And I finally learned quickly, you know, with these Toyo tires, when this track comes around to dry, you know, watch out. We got 1st and 3rd, and we're stoked, dude. Rockstar Energy Drinks here with everybody. KMC Wheels, CalGuard Racing Oils is here too, and Makita, and we're just doing it for them. And my dad was spotting me the whole time, just be cool. Okay, RJ's behind you. Oh, no, now Wells is behind you, but awesome. I just tried to stay cool and get to the finish. I'm stoked.
When you guys were 3 wide between you, McCackron, and Ricky Johnson, how did you manage to come out of that ahead?
I just went around the outside. I knew the outside was a little bit more grippier cushion, so I just got out there and I just squirted away. But this is for all the guys who worked super hard. We had an emergency not even 5 minutes before the race, so thanks to Carl Renezetter for loaning me some parts. And dude, this is for all the guys back at the crew, dude. Awesome.
Congratulations, Todd.
Thanks.
Ken.
So Todd LeDuc brings home his first win of the 2008 season and makes its presence known. Stay with us. We'll be back with more Championship Off-Road Racing. Welcome back to the Fairplex here at Pomona with Championship Off-Road Racing. As we take a look at the points after the Pro 2 event, the top 4 actually stayed the same, but Todd LeDuc, who won it, bumps up to the number 5 spot. So good move for him. Jerry Welch will actually fall down a bit. Mike Johnson, that rookie, still hanging around there in the top 7. Right now, we're going to take you to our Skyjacker shock of the race. I think we know who this is.
Yeah, no big surprise, and it must have been a big shock for Jerry too. Drifting, he doesn't know that he's going to contact.
Oh,
and yes, that was a shock of the race. Jerry Welch will contact, laying face down in the dirt. Not the way you want to end it. A tough break for our champion.
All right, standing down with the other 2 podium finishers. Once again, let's go to Kelly.
Ken, I've got Ricky Johnson and Jeremy McGrath, and what a roller coaster ride for you, Ricky, bouncing around there in the top 3. How did you manage to get up here on the podium?
Well, I was up and I was down. I actually, this time I made a good move in the first turn. I almost passed about 4 or 5 guys, and I thought I was going to come out in the lead. Ended up in 3rd, then made a small mistake. Rob get by me, then Taylor would be up there, then Jerry, then back and forth. Then I passed all 3 of them, or both of them coming into the last turn, then got spun out. Then it's championship off-road racing, man. It was awesome. But my truck, I beat it to death. My Red Bull Bosch Power Tools Ford was awesome all day long. I just kept pounding it hard, and BFG put me to the front.
And Jeremy McGrath was a little hesitant to use that brand new truck, but you were hanging around in 6th spot. How did you end up here in 3rd? And the last couple of laps is when it happened for you.
Yeah, we were behind under the gun going into this race. Qualifying wasn't so good. We burned a fuel pump in practice, so I didn't get a lot of time. And we have the Black Widow that I've been running so good in, so it was a little hesitant for sure. My Toyo tires were awesome. Monster Energy Bully Dog number 15 truck was ripping today, and honestly, there's a few passes there I just fell into. I was right up to 5th at the end after qualifying 13th. I felt like I had a great race. But Rob and Taylor got into each other, and I was the lucky guy to get a nice gift for get 3rd today.
And it's 3 podiums in a row now for Jeremy McGrath. Ken?
The 2006 Pro Light Champ has a brand new truck with brand new colors. We'll meet Chad Horde when we return. The view from high above there in the Monster Energy Stadium, if you will. It's a great shot as the folks enjoy racing here at Pomona. Let's go back down to Kelly Stavist.
Well, Chad Horde didn't get to defend his 2006 Pro Light Championship, but the unassuming champ from a small town in Felch, Michigan is back, and he's ready to prove that he's still the guy to beat.
Just from a little town up north in the UP, and there was the Bark River track up there. We grew up around that in Crandon and just got into it, took baby steps. We ended up winning a Super Buggy Championship, moving to Pro Light. We definitely went through the ranks and worked our way up, and we've always kind of walked lightly but carried a big stick, and that's kind of how we do it. After you've won 2 championships and you're expected to win races, you need to do what you have to do to stay on top, and this is what we had to do to stay on top. And when Mazda came on board, and like I say, it was a new challenge, but it's exciting for all of us.
Oh, Chad's a good guy, you know what I mean? And it's great racing against him. You can trust racing next to him and doing different things. And we've been friends for a long time. If he beats me fair and clean. And, it's good. It actually probably brings the best out of both of them.
I like racing Chad. He's a tough competitor. They work extremely hard also. His equipment's good. He drives good. But Chad's just one of 5 guys that can win in this Pro Light division this year. It's a stacked class.
Before, when a race would start and I'd get in the lead, I'd be on the radio, "Where's Jeff?" It's not like that anymore. You don't know who's coming.
Well, Chad Horde had problems in Prim, but he thinks they've got all those bugs worked out of the truck, and he expects some podiums this weekend.
They're ready to unleash 300 horsepower. 4 different winners in 4 different races. Will we see a 5th? The Pro Light Division is coming up next here from Pomona. You can keep up with all the action here on Speed as we get ready to start up the Pro Light Division. 16 starters here out of a field of 29. By the way, 29 Pro 2 trucks out here qualifying for 17 positions. So the fields are loaded with championship off-road racing. Bryce Menzies, we saw him just roll by a moment ago in the number 7 truck. The kid has done a spectacular job coming out of the single buggy division. Looking for a green flag here. The Pro Light Division has begun.
Todd Cafaro getting him started with the 46. He's got some traffic on the inside, getting a little nudge right away. And you talked about Bryce Menzies. He came out of the single buggy division, champion last year in his rookie year. And guess what? He's leading right now over our champion, number 54, Robert Knott.
It's the first time in his career that he has led a race, a championship off-road racing in the Pro Light Division. So congrats to Bryce Menzies. Unfortunately, with the point system that we have here this year, 100 points to win, he did not come out in round number 4 after a big accident that they'd had over that weekend. But he was ill, he was sick, could not make the run, so he finds himself deep down in the points. But what a great run so far.
Here's the test for the rookie. He comes out of a buggy. Now he's got a live rear end, both tires spinning together. 300 horsepower versus 60 where he started. It doesn't stop as well. And check it out, he drifts way wide. You got to be careful if you're going to open up these lines. And he likes the outside possibly because there's a little more traction there. But he's got a little bit of loam. You saw the champion also go out there.
Now Robert Naughton stubbed the bumper in that rhythm section and managed to save the truck. And now here comes Jeff Kincaid, a 6-time champion who last time he was here wadded his truck up in the rhythm section in practice and had to use a backup truck the entire weekend. He raced for points, brought home 2 fifth-place finishes, but since then has put the truck up on the podium, including 1 win, and he is telling Robert Naughton, hey, you want to win a championship this year, you're going to have to pass the best, and that's exactly what Naughton wants to do.
Robert Naughton, no likey that one for sure, and you know what? Naughton was dangerously close to that drifting into that K-rail we saw claim Jerry Walchel. So you're gonna have to be careful. I mean, these guys, we talked about the ice skates. It's like an ice skating rink out there right now. They're gonna have to be careful and very deliberate in where they drive the trucks. Looks like Naughton's getting another challenge. Here's a pass for the lead.
And how about that? Jeff Kincaid flying brand new colors on that track back machine. Kelly?
Well, if you can believe it, Jeff Kincaid told me moments before the race that they're actually still a little bit intimidated. He was really happy to qualify 4th, and he said that he's got to be content with podiums. He thinks podiums win championships. Even though he's got 5 championships, he's been runner-up and a handful more, and he thinks had he been a little bit more consistent and not always gone for the win, he could have had some more championships to his name.
Jeff Kincaid intimidated. That is certainly a big story. And you know, he laid down the quickest lap of the race in Prem, our first event in Prem. As we take a look at him right here, he's very, very tough, very methodical. He's been doing this for a long time. You don't win 6 championships by being too aggressive.
Very interesting there watching Jeff Kincaid as he comes out of the dig. Very deliberate in that bowl turn, not sliding it, not risking it, driving smoothly through. Right now, the guy that's throwing it around and drifting way outside. Look at the push he's getting. Robert Naughton in the number 54 truck. Bryce Menzies still holding on to second, and you saw Menzies drift wide to lose the spot to Kincaid. Well, guess what? He's kind of protecting that inside now, isn't he?
The guys out of the Midwest say that the setup is completely different here as they come out west. Here's a look at Casey Curry, who did so well a year ago, a brand new truck here this year, finally getting some of it worked out.
He is, and Justin Smith and Orrin Anderson have been working very hard, lots of overtime. They've cut up a lot of different things in the truck. to get it dialed in the way they want it. And guess what? Casey says, I really like the way the truck's going, and I know the fabricator, Justin Smith, they've been working very tight together, all the same age. Look like a bunch of kids out there working.
Kelly.
Well, Casey feels like they just haven't been able to catch a break, whether they're being rolled onto by lap traffic or having mechanical issues. He says, we've got to create some stuff for ourselves now. There is no holding back. I'm going to go out there and charge, and if you're in my way, you're going to be moved out of it.
Bully Dog really stepping up and helping Casey out this year, and I know you probably have one of those programmers in your truck. Bully Dog can give you some extra power if that's what you're looking for, man. It's a great product and great support as well. As we take a look at Chad Horde, the Boss snowplow machine, and we'll go on board with Chad. Chad, unfortunately, that truck overheated at Prim on 2 different occasions, so he had 2 horrendous finishes at Prim after starting off so great here in the year. A couple of podiums, including a win here at the first couple of rounds.
And slow-moving traffic, and I like the qualifying for the top 16 coming out here. It's going to be a cleaner race. Lappers won't be as much of a factor, but they still will be a factor. And let's also pay attention. As this track dries up, these Pro Lights have a tendency to bicycle a little bit more than the bigger, higher horsepower Pro 2s or Pro 4s. As it dries up, start to watch out for these edges the guys might catch as they're used to sliding into the corners.
Marty Hart there, good battle between Naughton and Horde. Here comes Horde right back underneath Naughton. It looks like Naughton is really struggling. You mentioned it before. It looks like he's just having a tough time getting that truck to rotate.
Watch out for the K-rail on the outside. He keeps it clean, but he does get passed again. One must wonder, there's an issue with the truck, or maybe tire choice. The way he's grooved the tires, you talked about it in the Pro 2 race, Ken, it's very muddy and slippery. Maybe he went with something that he thought was going to work when it dries up. So let's see if the truck comes around to him, because when the track dries out, those guys that were set up for the mud, the track's going to go away from them and come to the guys that were ready for the dry.
Chad Horde right there, Boss Snowplow, Amsoil helping him out right behind Robert Naughton. Picked up some new colors. He cut a deal with Lucas Oil, so he's flying the badge on the hood of that truck now. So a little bit of money coming into the series and helping these guys out. That's exactly what they need to run at this level. Todd Cabarro, Rodrigo and Pudi up into the wall.
And that is your points leader, and I talked to Rodrigo. This again is that very slippery, icy corner. Looks like he just drifted out.
Right front damage, no doubt. His day will be done here. Here's a look at it.
Drift, 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 bam! Catches the rear.
Wow, it did not look that hard. I wonder if it was broke going in.
It's possible, but the thing that I see there is when the rear tire makes the contact, it whips the front of the truck into the barrier. And that's what it looks like happened. He's driving it right now. Remember, your points leader, he doesn't have a win on the season, and I talked to him during the weekend. He says, I have mellowed out, which is good news because Rodrigo was the madman when it came to the Pro Lights.
So good battle going on there for second place. Bryce Menzies really hanging in there. Jeff Kincaid, your leader, and the Traxxas back machine. There's Bryce Menzies in the 7. Then Marty Hart, and Marty Hart with a win this year. And then right behind him, Chad Horde. We've had 4 races, 4 different winners in this category. We've had 4 different winners at the 4 events we've had here at Pomona going back to 2007. So nobody has ever repeated in this class at Pomona.
I'm trying to watch the lines here, and you can see that Horde's driving a little bit lower on the track, especially in the asphalt section. He's been making that work for him, maybe driving it a little more mellow coming in and driving more speed out, but staying down on the inside. Drop back a little bit from Hart there, but you can see Hart throwing the back of the truck out where Horde is tracking it.
Marty Hart, who won the first event of the season right here. It was a great run, and we both had a chance to talk to him as a mandatory yellow flag will come out, and Kincaid will get that bonus 6 points, followed by Bryce Menzies right there, a bonus 3 points, and then Marty Hart. But we spoke to Marty Hart about his transmission. He's been searching for the right gearing. We'll talk more about that when we come back. This is what they look like at the mandatory caution flag. Who's going to win this thing? Well, that's anybody's guess. But one thing for sure, if you stay tuned, you'll find out, just like we do. At the mandatory caution, this is what they look like. Jeff Kincaid on top of the pile, followed by the rookie and Bryce Menzies, then Marty Hart. All right, let's take a look at this.
Again, that slippery corner. Menzies to the outside, drift in the rear end. Kincaid gets to the inside, drives it smart and smooth to the inside. And guess what? Payday! Knockout punch for the lead. We'll see if he can hold it there as we get ready to go green flag racing.
And Kincaid looked like he checked up there to keep the contact to a minimum as he was going by Bryce. So we'll come back to green flag. Here we go. They'll fan out and look for some room to get to the front.
In talking to Marty Hart, he says, I play it conservative to the yellow, then I'm going all out when it gets to the second half of the race. So we'll see if Marty Hart can put it together, getting a challenge there from immediately behind.
Horde, Knott, Cafaro and the 46 back there as they head up and over the big tabletop in the back. Too wide up there in that left-hander, a high bank left-hander over a couple of whoops here, and then down into the big dig.
And not making a move. Now watch multiple lines. Check the setup. Everybody drifting into the same spot. Not use a little bit lower coming out. Gets chopped by Hart. Gets a little sideways. Watch for the pass on the inside.
Horde coming back. And here comes Knott. No, Knott, man, really just trying to sneak it underneath. Did he get it done? He turns Menzies around. Cafaro gets into Menzies.
Menzies, well done. Put on the curtain rod there by the experienced veteran.
One more time.
Menzies driving it inside, and it looked like Naughton just running with speed there, but then makes contact twice. Cafaro goes and rips the fiberglass off.
So, man, easy to speculate up here. Naughton just really driving down hard in there. And
are you calling like cheap shot there a little bit?
Well, I don't know. I think he thought there was an opening at the bottom, but I don't think Menzies thought he was coming in underneath him. So Menzies probably dove down low, closed the door, not even realizing how close Naughton was.
Well, that's a situation where you want your spotter letting you know what's happening. Maybe if Menzies knew, and I'm assuming he did, he would have maybe opened the door a little bit so he didn't chop inside of Naughton, shutting the door down on him. So we're calling that good racing.
And I believe that was Chris Brandt. Looks like Chris Brandt is working his way up there to move over. Oh, is that a black flag?
There's a black flag coming out for you. Now, we talked cheap shot. We said we're calling that good racing, but the CORR officials weren't listening to what we had to say. The number 54 there, Robert Naughton.
I guess we know what they thought it was.
They thought it was the cheap shot we originally kind of mentioned there. I mean, he got into the side of the truck. The one thing the CORR officials do not like, you can tap door to door, get together, but if someone has the line and you get them in the back corner, they're not going to like it at all.
Chad Horde in, unfortunately, a flat right rear. That will move him to the back of the pack. And, going back to that black flag situation, as we take a look at our leader right here, Jeff Kincaid, the Traxxas back machine. By the way, the Traxxas guys come out here in force. They are running in Pro 4 and Pro 2. Here comes Robert Naughton for that black flag, and they're pulling the black flag out more. They talked about it in the driver's meeting because of the point situation. They don't want to DQ anybody if they don't have to. Let's go to Kelly.
Not what Robert Naughton was looking for at this race. He told me that they had hoped to have the points lead by the end of the day, and part of that plan included being first at the yellow, which obviously didn't happen. And on a day when Rodrigo Ampudia has bad luck, this is certainly not how he hoped to finish his day either.
Right on, Kelly. Well, I'll tell you what I think the officials are doing. They're waiting for Bryce Menzies to go back by and regain the track position on Naughton, which is exactly what they did. A black flag is one thing. Having to stop is terrible, but sitting there for 15 seconds, whoo, if I was Naughton, I would be hot.
I'm sure he is. A very costly move as he will try to pick up as many positions as possible. Looks like Cafaro now in the back of the pack. Some possible damage to the left front of that truck.
Definitely a flat tire at the very least for Cafaro. And now you see Naughton. He's going to have to try to make his move through. Remember, this is a guy with championship on his mind all the time. The guy leading the points coming in, Rodrigo Ampudia, already has a broken truck. Now, puts Naughton in a great position. Kincaid, of course, just ahead of him in the points. Now, if it goes the way it's going, Kincaid's going to have a nice cushion.
And there's Bryce Menzies just trying to hang on. Those two got together. That was the cause of the scene, and Bryce Menzies struck with a lot of damage to that one. Man, oh man, that is a costly move for Robert Naughton for both of those trucks. And Robert Naughton, who finished second, and first the last three outings up on the podium, including a win. way in the back of the pack. That plays right into Kincaid's hands.
And time winding down for anybody that wants to come play ball. White flag is waving.
Jeff Kincaid, the Potawatomis have always been behind him for the longest of times. Indian tribe out of the Midwest, Wisconsin. And now Traxxas has jumped on board, and he's representing proudly.
And as you mentioned, if it goes this way, he will be our first repeat winner on the season, claiming his second win.
Yeah. I can't even drive a Traxxas remote-controlled off-road truck.
That's tough to do, but those things are sure fun, aren't they? Chaos, and this.
Casey Curry.
And Curry, the good news for him, he's sitting in a podium position, which is something a little different for him. Remember, a top 4 last time we saw racing, but Curry and his crew, as we talked about, working hard to make that truck ready to rock.
And Jeff Kincaid will cross the stripe first as the checkered flag waves. Behind him, Marty Hart. And it looks like Casey Curry will come around here and eventually finish in 3rd place. Casey Curry, the picture of consistency a year ago, on the podium so many times, still looking for that first win. And then Chris Brandt with a great run as well. A guy that's run this series since back in the 90s and actually has some wins underneath his belt. Steps up and does a great job. Come on back. Welcome back to Pomona, California. Here's a look at the unofficial results for the Pro Light category. Jeff Kincaid brings home another win. Marty Hart, Casey Curry in the top 3. Chris Brandt, great job for Chris. And Bruce Fraley out of the Menzies camp. Shannon Campbell in the top 10. Very solid effort for him. Sean Byer, Robert Naughton falling back. Bryce Menzies with all kinds of problems. And how about Brian Deegan into the top 10 as well. Let's go down to Kelly, who's with our winner.
And Ken, Jeff Kincaid becomes the first Pro Light driver to get 2 wins under his belt in 2008. And Jeff, you told me before the race you were a little bit intimidated, but if that's the case, it sure didn't show out there today.
Yeah, you say things before races and stuff, and we came out firing good. Track was wet, right in my favor, you know. I mean, we hooked up the BF Goodriches and went right to the front, and everybody else had to chase us.
You have the most impressive resume of the group here in Pro Light with all those championships, 5 of them. What do you think it's going to take? What are the ingredients to win one this year with the level of competition around you?
Oh, there's a lot of competition, you know. I mean, any of 10 of us could win this race, and I think consistency is going to win a championship. You know, I've been a runner-up for probably 6 times, even though I won 5 championships, but consistency and racing up front is going to get you championships.
Another thing we've talked about is the tracks out here are pretty different from your championship days and another series you've competed in the Midwest. What's been the biggest challenge coming out here to the West Coast?
Well, the tracks are changed up a little bit, and I shine in other spots, but I'm still struggling through the whoops and stuff, and the high-speed whoops are getting me a little bit, but my truck favors me everywhere else, but it hurts me right there. So we're still trying to fine-tune that a little bit.
Sure didn't look like he was struggling today. Congratulations.
Thank you.
Ken?
Good effort by that man. He's coming out here and making another run at it. Hey, make sure you join us here on Speed. The TV schedule as follows. Mark that down on your calendar up through December 7th from Chula Vista, California. A lot of great racing coming your way here in 2008, courtesy of Championship Off-Road Racing. We'll be back. We have a lot more racing yet to come. Whatever you do, don't touch that dial. Welcome back to Championship Off-Road Racing. As we look at the Pro Light point standings here, Jeff Kincaid will take over the lead, followed by Robert Knott and the defending champion Rodrigo Ampudia after hitting that wall and causing severe damage, falls to third.
A shocker for Ampudia, but another solid effort for Todd Cafaro. Not his best outing, but he's staying in the top 5 of the points. I like that. Casey Curry making the playback, getting on the podium, moving up to the 8th spot in points. And Brian Deegan from the Metal Militia, the bad boy of dirt bikes, proven he can do it, keeping it inside the top 10 in points.
The other 2 positions on the podium have been filled, and Kelly Stavis is standing with them.
Here with Marty Hart and Casey Curry, and Marty Hart won the first round here at Pomona. Now he backs it up with the podium again in round 5. What is it about this track that suits you?
Well, it's got a little bit of pavement and dirt, and so when you got Maxxis behind you and they build a tire that does both well, and I think that helps us up to get there. And then we got good sponsors like Colpin, ATV Products, Fox Shocks, because these whoops, they're getting pretty mean. So the chuck holes really developing this track today, and I mean the shocks really worked well. I mean Kincaid had a little bit on us today, but I think we can dial in a few things tonight, make a gearing change, and then we'll be back and ready for him tomorrow.
We saw a couple problems for you in Prim. Given where you're at, what do you hope to accomplish this season?
Well, I just got to prove myself, you know, that I'm worthy to be up here, and when you're in an elite group like this guys right here, I mean this is the best of the best, and CORR's really put together a program that'll, you know, you can show your talent in, because when they give you racetracks that you can go out and compete with guys that's got great teams, and you come out as a rookie and you go out here and get wins, I mean, you're showing the best of the best what you have. And so if you can be here with the Pro 4s, 2s, and the way this sport's growing, hopefully one day step into a Pro 2 and keep moving up.
All right, thanks, Marty. And turning it over to Casey Curry. Casey, you told me you were going to kind of have to create your own luck out there, and we did see you take some hits throughout the race. Tell me how you ended up here on the podium.
You know, we tried hard today. You know, I got to give it for my team. We've been working really hard with Bully Dog and Speed Technologies. I mean, these guys have been working 24 hours a day. Just got to give it up. You know, it's been a struggle this year and a lot of bad luck, but we're back. Started 10th today, and I didn't even see these guys until the end. But you know, tomorrow's another day, and I think we're gonna have this thing up front. You know, we had the traction, we had everything it took. BFG, I mean, we had everything it took. We just needed to start in the front. Starting 10th, it was hard to get through that field.
Last year, you were so consistently in the top 3. You had a great shot at the championship for a good part of it. What's it been like, in essence, almost taking a step back by going with a brand new truck?
It's devastating. You know, I sometimes feel that I lost what I had, and you know, so frustrating. But now it feels so good to have something that's faster, and you know, this is it. We're only going up from here, and the team does a great job, and I'm super excited to be back up here.
Casey Curry is back on the podium, Ken. We'll see if he can carry it on till tomorrow.
He looks good, Ken. We might have to start calling him Casey Hollywood Curry. He got out of that truck, man, with the big shades on. No mud on his face. Casey's a great kid. Hey, when we come back, we're going to tell you what that's all about, because every single tire out here is just a little different.
Welcome back to Championship Off-Road Racing here at the Fairplex in Pomona, just outside of Los Angeles, and this is how it shook down in the battle that was the Pro 2 race. Todd the Duke on top of Ricky Johnson and Jeremy McGrath rounding out the podium. A tough day, so to speak, for Rob McCackern, but he hangs on to his points lead at the 4th place finish. Scott Taylor, Greg Adler, lots of different names towards the bottom there in the top 10. Shout out to Mike Johnson, the rookie, who has been keeping it together. Jesse Jones, Steve Serapis, and Jeff Geiser from the Geiser Brothers shop in Phoenix. And of course the Pro Lights, which we just saw, Jeff Kincaid doing work, throwing down, Marty Hart bringing it in, calling himself a rookie, not sure about that. Casey Curry on the podium for the first time. Great run by Chris Brandt. And then Bruce Fraley with the top 10. Really impressed with Shannon Campbell, first time inside the top 10 for him. Then Bayer knotting with a bit of a shocker. Bryce Menzies, who was way up front, holding it together. got knocked around a bit, moving it back to 9th place, and then Brian Deegan rounding out the top 10. And what we're gonna do right now is we're gonna look into tire cutting, grooving. We're gonna check in with my road dog, Ken Stout, who's bringing you all the dirt.
When you come to championship off-road racing, you'll find enough rubber laying on the ground to build tires. That's because each and every driver wants a unique setup for their truck when it comes to tire grooving. We're here at Kumho Tires. James has actually got a tire up here on this device as he rotates it around and has started grooving this tire. But obviously when you come here, these guys go through a lot of tires, a lot of rubber. When you come to the Kumho tent, you'll also find obviously a mounting, dismounting device. If you go a little further down, you'll also find interliners. When these guys have flat tires, they'll fall down onto the interliner. A lot of times we see them keep going and actually carry a lot of speed. That's because the interliners are in there. But we want to talk a little more about grooving, and we're going to talk to Ed Sursick about that. The Ed Sursick, because he is a Ohio State fan and principal engineer, tire groover for these tires. These guys all have a unique design that they want put on their tires, and sometimes you guys actually recommend a cut.
Yeah, a lot of times we will work with the teams and recommend different grooves, different groove patterns, widths of grooves. That's all important. It's pretty amazing just what the width of the groove does. Between maybe what we call a 3 or a 5, that's just the width of the blades we use. We go with more open grooves on loamy, muddy tracks, and we close things up really good for a tight track like this, a track that we expect to go blue groove.
Now, he's obviously talking about some of the asphalt that the guys will be on here this weekend. And if you take a look at this, this is a right rear tire for Scott Douglas and the Pro 4. And the Pro 2s are cut drastically different than the Pro 4s, by the way, because they're looking for a little more side bite in the Pro 2s with the trucks going sideways. The Pro 4s, a lot more inline speed. They tend to push through the turn, so they're going straight almost all the time. But if you take a look at this tire, this one's actually being cut specifically for qualifying. So they feel like the track is going to be a little bit looser, a little loamy, a little tacky. So they've actually opened this one up a bit more. You can see the outside of this tire, they actually have a pretty good sized groove here. Now when they go racing, he'll put a different cut on this tire. He'll leave a larger chunk out here, a big block of rubber to deal with that blue groove situation he was speaking of and the asphalt. They'll want that rubber out there obviously to hang on throughout the entire race because it will destroy these tires. And obviously you can see the grooves in here. This is for the dirt. They'll want to keep these things cleaned out. They want a lot of forward bite inside of these things. It's all about traction. Of course, it's all just one piece of the puzzle. You have to have the suspension to keep these things planted, but Kumho is working hard to keep their customers satisfied, and these guys all want something different.
900 horsepower and 4-wheel drive with the Cowboys saddled up and ready to put them where they just shouldn't put big trucks. Pro 4 when we come back here on Speed.
Make sure you join us Saturday, July 26th at 6 p.m. as we bring you the action live here on Speed, and then Sunday, July 27th at 3 p.m. on NBC. All right, Pro 4 is on deck as they bring them around. They're about to get these guys started. Josh Baldwin, Steve Barlow, Kyle LeDuc, Rick Huseman, all at the front of the field here. Josh on the pole.
Gotta love the break for Josh getting up there on the front row, and a lot of great stories going down here. Kyle LeDuc, Rick Huseman, 3rd and 4th, Scott Douglas and Carl Rennezetter. Watch out as they rain fire from the 5th and 6th starting positions.
As we go back into the field, we'll find Troy and Tim Herbst, the brothers there, and row number 4. Row 5, Travis Coyne looked good in practice along with Ed Herbst. And then we'll find Mike Jenkins and Kurt LeDuc in row number 6. And as we work our way to the back of the field, Adrian Cheney back with us after that exciting run in Prim. But starting dead last, and certainly a story, Johnny Greaves, as he lost front wheel drive in qualifying, a problem in the transfer case, will go on board with Rick Huseman throughout the race, fresh off of a win from Prem and looking very good out here as well. We will also take you on board with the kid who stepped up into Pro 4, Kyle LeDuc, the 2004 champion out of the Pro Light division, will take us for a ride. He's been spectacular in Pro 4 with a brand new truck built by himself. And then we'll also take you on board with Scott Douglas, if we can bring that up here a little bit later on. All right, the pace truck bringing them around down through the rhythm section, and these are the big dogs, man. They're pulling on all four corners.
It looks so calm right now as they march
storm.
so orderly to the green flag, but this is when the chaos erupts, and I believe we have one more lap to go around. And we should talk about, when we talk about Kyle LeDuc, his dad is out there racing a very similar truck. Kyle's is a year newer. I asked Kurt LeDuc, his father, what's the difference in the two trucks? And Kurt looked at me and said, 20 years and a whole lot of testosterone.
All right, let's take a look at our Pro 4 fast facts and truck requirements here, Cam.
It's a full-size four-wheel drive, no-brainer, 700 to 900. I don't think so. If you got 700 horsepower, you didn't come to play. Front wheel travel, 18 inches. Rear wheel, 20 inches. You gotta love it. You check it out. All the trucks very similar in spec. Minimum weight, 4,000 pounds. So a lot of different types of rules. The good thing is it keeps the racing very even, but the horsepower is the big difference. Cheney, Rumors, 1,000 horsepower. Are you kidding me?
The Wild Man, the last time we saw him, he was at the top shelf. Well, actually, it was at the top of the fence. Watch this. Talk about spectacular. He was leading the race, hit the wall, climbed to the top of the fence, never lifted, and maintained first place. Can you do that one, Cam?
Unbelievable pictures right there. Here we go.
Josh Baldwin on the pole, followed by Kyle LeDuc, and then it looked like Rick Huseman. Kyle LeDuc with the 99 Rockstar truck. Scott Douglas right there behind him. The AMS oil machine. The Lucas oil machine driven by Carl Rennesetter to go on board with Rick Huseman. Huseman on the outside. Oh, 3 wide down there. Douglas has so much faith. And that Bill Smith built truck, he said, this turn's so good.
I talked to Scott Douglas about it. He's got a unique style of 4-link in the rear, which gives him more mechanical grip. You see contact up there. Kyle LeDuc getting by Josh Baldwin. They fill each other's lines in the dig.
On board with Kyle LeDuc. You can see him coming into the window right there. That is company. It looks like it was Scott Douglas. Oh, and Huseman way offline right there.
And Huseman tap dancing inside of those barriers, and it is tough to see down there. If you think it's hard to see up here, down on the track, it is tough to see when it gets dusty like that.
Look at the Herbs right there. Coyne, Jenkins, and then it looked like Kurt LeDuc back in there. Josh Baldwin, number 86. And certainly has his moments when he is a rocket ship. Great looking truck, and that's a great shot from our Monster Energy bat cam. Here comes Carl Rennesetter making a run at it right there. Kyle LeDuc has just been spectacular as he gets up there and is leading right here, Kelly.
He told me that his mindset changed instantly after setting that pole in front and then finishing on the podium. Now he's after the win. He said the big moment was when he passed Johnny Greaves cleanly, realized he was behind Carl in front of Johnny. He said, all right, we're there.
And that is a special moment in your career when you can pass somebody at that level. You've been watching him your whole life. I mean, we've watched this kid grow up. So to pass a Johnny Greaves is a big moment.
The bad news for Kyle LeDuc right now is that Scott Douglas absolutely loves that truck he's driving. He says he can drive it anywhere on the track, and he said one of the biggest keys with the different dynamic of the 4-link, not only does he have better mechanical grip, but he can drive the truck a lot of places that other people can't drive, which opens him up for great passing opportunities, he says. We'll see if it plays out here as he closes up a bit on Kyle LeDuc.
And Scott Douglas, last time he was here, was having brake fade issues. He was standing on the brakes hard. They had a very aggressive pad on the truck. They've since gone back to a softer pad. and it's starting to work out for them. They also have a brand new tire on the truck from Kumho. It has a huge block on it, a huge chunk of rubber, as we saw a little bit earlier in this show, that of course is giving them the traction that they want on that asphalt.
The other key with the traction and the grip that he's able to use is shock package. John Marking from Fox has been coming up with packages for a lot of these drivers. Scott Douglas, again, another guy able to use that, and especially with the way his truck is so easy to set up.
Carl Renazetter trying to work his way up to the front, Kelly.
Well, Carl swept the opening rounds here at Pomona, but then had problems in Prim. He told me when they were back in the mid-waist at a separate race, they figured out that he had been running in three-wheel drive. He said, that'll hurt, so now they've got that figured out, and he expected to be back on the podium this weekend.
Yeah, they had made some changes in Prim, and unfortunately did not realize that one of the front axles was not pulling like it's supposed to, and of course, three-wheel drive on one of these things just doesn't get it done.
One of the things we talked about was throttle control and traction early on. You see, Douglas trying to drive it through, goes wide. Leduc goes down to the inside to try to protect, but this is a great battle. This is where Scott Douglas could pay off with the truck. He says he can drive in a lot of different areas. You see Kyle setting up high, trying to dive to the inside. We'll see what the brute force says coming out of the dig, side by side.
Great onboard shot. The kid with some great racing prowess right there.
Douglas with the inside.
And he gets in the back of him a little bit. And here comes Renazetter.
Renazetter paying off. Two drivers get together. Renazetter making it work for him, and Kyle Leduc doing a great job.
Slugging it out with him, man. He's not giving up anything.
I saw an uppercut. I saw a right cross in there. I saw a couple body blows. We'll see who's going to be standing at the end of this one.
Well, you talked about it earlier in the Toyota Keys to the Race, the fact that you got to stay out of the yard sale. These guys are tinkering with that yard sale.
They are close to the edge of destruction, and speaking of close, Kyle getting by Renazetter. You can see him there out the camera. Kyle likes the line, sets up outside, wants to drive down, but Carl's filling that line on him, and Kyle takes it all the way around the outside. And speaking of Kyle, bad news for the family. Kurt is into the pit.
That right rear looked like it was off a little bit there, so unfortunately tough day for Dad after he had made it onto the podium at Prim. Let's go back to the front. Kyle Leduc, Rockstar, Makita on that one, doing a spectacular job. And we talked about him winning the championship 2004 in Pro Light. You take all that experience and you apply it right here, and this is where it pays off.
Let us not soon forget his brother Todd won the first race we watched today in the Pro 2s. Both trucks brand new for this year. You can see Renazetter to the inside. Kyle keeping the momentum on the outside. Down into the dig. We know Kyle likes to set up on the outside. Carl follows him in, but chops to the inside.
Well, man, and it is getting ruddy and rough. And that turn side by side again. And what's spectacular about what Kyle's doing here is he's not overdriving this truck under all this pressure.
And he holds the line, tries to stay up inside, but Carl, the wily veteran, chops the throttle, gets on the binders, drops to the inside. Guess what? Payday, people.
The Lucas Oil Pro 4 out front, the defending champion in the category, and here comes Kyle right back.
We talked about not overdriving into the asphalt. Right there, Carl living on the edge of disaster, getting into the marbles. Just outside of that is the K-rail and then those semi-trailers. Got to be careful.
Renazetter, who had a tough time in Prim, finishing 13th and 9th, fell back to 4th in the points after back-to-back wins here, the season opener, and it looks like he's got it back.
All this excitement, all this chaos, we still have 11 laps to go.
We're not even to the mandatory caution yet. Kyle Leduc getting a little out of shape right there.
Well, now I think what Kyle's doing, we saw him driving really smart, being technical, trying not to overdrive it. Right there, he jumped out of the dig extremely far, trying to get a run at it. Now is when he might risk it. Got to be careful and keep the good racing you've been doing together.
And Johnny Greaves making a nice run up to 4th place from dead last at the start of this race. So he's doing a spectacular job and has put himself in position to make a run at the win in the Pro 4 division. Stay with us. We'll find that winner when we come back. coming around for the restart. The green flag flies. Carl Rennezetter out front trying to stay there. Kyle LeDuc right behind him as they battled so hard. And then it's Scott Douglas in third place.
Drifting, and here they come. They put a little water down during the yellow. I like to say bringing out the Zamboni machine for the ice skating rink. It's going to be slick in some spots. You got to manage it. Some areas are still dry and you're going to be able to throw it in. So 2 different styles of driving will be in play.
Johnny Greaves with the right front fender flopping up over the top of the hood. Could be difficult for him to make right-handed entries as to where he wants to be. It looked like he was right beside Douglas. Here he comes, speaking of a right-hander, and that is blocking his entire vision for a right-hand turn.
Getting down the inside with a good run next to Douglas, though. Oh, and Kyle LeDuc winging it through the whoop section. He's going to go way deep. If it's wet back over there, that could be a problem, but it looks like he hooks up great, gets into the back of Carl Rennezetter. You can see him drifting on the wet asphalt a little bit.
Kyle LeDuc all over the back bumper of Rennezetter. Trying to take advantage of it, runs a little wider line right there to set up for this tabletop. Up and over, 90 foot of air up over that tabletop.
Greaves has made the pass stick on Douglas for third place. So coming all the way from the back of the pack, I saw Johnny groove in his own tires. He said he wanted the special magic. I think he might have got it.
Well, he maintains that position. That is a podium spot, of course. Those guys are struggling in qualifying with the transfer case. Lost front wheel drive, Kelly.
Well, with Johnny starting in the back of the pack at the start of the race, I asked his brother and crew chief, Kurt, can he do it? And he said, hey, this is when he's at his best. He was telling him to relax before the start. And after the restart, he said, he's moving to the front now.
When he gets in the groove, he's as smooth and good as anybody out there. And a mistake by Kyle might have opened the door right there.
One thing you don't see from Johnny in that asphalt section, he's not all sideways and crossed up with the wheel. He's driving it through pretty smoothly. Now you see those two drivers looking for outside cushion to carry momentum and traction. Johnny Greaves going to the inside.
On board with Kyle. Great look as a kid. Number 99 trying to maintain his position. And here comes Johnny Greaves down underneath him. Johnny Greaves takes over second position. It would be a fairy tale story if he could come from dead last to win this one. And it's not over by any means. Way wide though, a mistake by Greaves.
They're going so deep on contact. It's slippery there. There's dirt there where there was asphalt prior. There they jump onto the asphalt. Let's watch Greaves as he drives through this asphalt section, trying to get to the inside of this apex. Looks like he's got an inside run. He likes that inside section coming onto the dirt.
And he likes the inside in this next turn as well. We'll see if he uses it.
Carl
Looks like
protects
Carl
it.
went down there. Absolutely. He knows where Johnny's going to go.
The spotter's telling Carl, hey, Johnny's there. He used that inside line last time. Carl goes right in and protects it.
We saw these two guys battle just like this for the Baldwin Cup a year ago. Man, just a brutal hit. Johnny got on the binders, but a little too late. What happened with Carl there? There's no way he would have slowed down that much.
Yeah, maybe just trying to keep the truck in a good track.
Well,
Not sure, but look at Douglas sneaking in, and now contact. This is going to be good. I'm really excited. 4 laps of chaos to go. 3 laps now as they cross the stripe.
And so what we thought was a mistake is actually those guys searching for the cushion up there in that turn because it's so slick. Here comes Greaves. Fight. Look at these guys, man. Talk about ups and uppercuts and lefts and rights. They are going at it. Look at the truck.
Now here, Johnny has the line he wants. Kyle LeDuc trying to dive down as well.
He's going to come out of here with a lead.
Side by side. Now let's see how Carl manages this. He's going to be on the inside. A lot of drivers like the outside in. Johnny chopping it way down low. Fills up the line. Carl has to stay very tight.
Oh, yeah. This is what these guys do. These guys race each other as hard as anybody on this planet. And LeDuc and Douglas right there.
Douglas, payday on the inside.
Here comes LeDuc. It looks like he might bump up to second. 3 wide. I can't believe these trucks are still running.
Unbelievable contact. The top 4 drivers getting together continuously. Carl Rennezetter, 2 laps to go. Driving the tires off of it. The hood up and over the view of Johnny Greaves. Douglas now up in the podium. It looks like the hood's wrapped around on both sides on that Monster Energy Pro 4 of Johnny Greaves.
What a testament to how tough these trucks are. Typically when they hit with these Pro 4s, they'll break a front axle somewhere along the way, and all 4 of these guys are still just going at it.
And Kyle has to check up hard as Douglas gets sideways in front of him. We've seen other contact in there. Kyle keeping it clean.
Very impressed with Kyle. He has certainly raised his game, and now Johnny Greaves takes the lead with 1 lap to go. Look at that truck for Johnny Greaves. It has just been mangled.
It's a Cinderella story. The hood is coming all the way up. Greaves from the back to the front. Can he hold it together? Here comes Renazetter on the outside.
He's not going to get it easy.
Now Greaves can't see anything on that right side.
I don't think he can see anything in front of him. The entire hood flopping up.
This is where you really want to have a great spotter.
And keep in mind, it was here at Pomona when CORR Renazetter came back and passed Rick Huseman on the last turn of the last lap. Can he pull that magic off against Johnny Greaves?
One last corner. Johnny's got to be careful. Tuck it inside. Watch out for Carl. Dive into the inside.
It's the same move that he made on Huseman.
Oh!
And Johnny Greaves must have lost front wheel drive. That's the only way you spin one of those out. 2 times in a row, CORR Renazetter has made a pass on the last turn of the last lap in the Pro 4 race and brings home a win. What a amazing race we just witnessed.
Scott Douglas comes across with the left rear flat tire. You gotta be kidding me, people. That did not just happen right here. 4 drivers, full chaos, gloves off. That was
chaos. Gloves off is exactly right. Here it goes again.
Greaves goes deep. Renazetter's like, what just happened? He goes wide, gets a little wall kiss.
Gives it to him. Wow, what a spectacular race. We'll get a chance to talk to our winner when we come back. One of the most spectacular Pro 4 races of all time as CORR Renazetter drives underneath a spinning Johnny Greaves, who had come from dead last.
And we talked about it. Carl looking hard to the inside. We knew he was going there. Johnny went wide. You're speculating that maybe the 4-wheel drive went out. I think you're right. Something has to be wrong to have Johnny have that kind of problem right at the end of the race.
Well, he's on the throttle right there. There's no roost coming off the front tires. So
there you have it. A good call by my friend Ken Stout.
Here
with the
are
4-wheel drive going bye-bye.
Unofficial results in the Pro 4 category of Championship Off-Road Racing. CORR Renazetter on top. Scott Douglas, Kyle LeDuc on the podium 2 times in a row. Johnny Greaves maintains 4th place, followed by Troy Herbst. That rounds out the top 5. And man, oh man, what a tough race. Rick Huseman well back in the pack here. And Adrian Chinney down there in 9th place. All right, we're going to go down to Kelly Stavis, who's with Mr. CORR Renazetter.
Well, you see him celebrating on top of his truck on just a classic battle between Carl Renazetter and Johnny Greaves. Carl, tell me about that last lap, that last corner.
Well, you know, I wasn't going to let it go down easy, you know, and Johnny was banging on me, and actually, you know, it was all good. You know, it was hard racing. He wasn't trying to spin me out, and, you know, I was banging on him a little bit, but, you know, this Lucas Oil Skyjacker BF Goodrich truck just was hooked up. Honestly, I was just kind of trying to take care of the truck as well as I can. I had a rough run in the Pro 2. I wanted to make sure I finished the race. And then they told me Johnny was back there. I'm like, okay, this could get fun. And sure enough, he started banging on me a little bit. And so it was a race, and it was on. And, you know, I had so much fun. That race was, you know, why we're here.
Well, it wasn't just Johnny, it was Kyle LeDuc up there, Scott Douglas diving his nose in there. Tell me about the competition at the top levels of this Pro 4 class.
Oh, the level of competition is amazing. You know, Kyle LeDuc's doing an awesome job for his rookie year, and Scott Douglas has that new truck with Bill Smith chassis. And you know, I'm glad that I have all the sponsors and the help that I have. AEM filters kept the dirt out of my engine, and oh man, it was awesome. I had a great time today.
All right, congratulations, Carl.
Thank you very much.
Ken?
The right place at the right time. Carl Renesetter brings home the win. That'll help him out, obviously, in that hunt for a championship. The Lucas Oil back machine doing its job, took good care of it, and Johnny Greaves passed him earlier in the race. See the number 4 truck there, the Monster Energy back machine, and actually at one point did get ahead of Carl.
Looking at the inside, here goes Johnny. He loved that inside section coming off that asphalt, able to make it work. A little bit of contact. Johnny definitely on his game today, and the contact.
This is when he actually took the lead here, so the white flag comes out. They were down to that final lap. Johnny Greaves had finally fought up in there. Now Carl would come back up beside him again as they headed up over the tabletop. And then the last turn, Carl Renesetter, the right place, the right time. Johnny Greaves' truck finally gives up. And Carl Renesetter says, thank you very much. I'll take that one. Back here at Pomona, here's your Skyjacker shock of the race, courtesy of our Monster Energy Bat Cam.
I think Johnny was doing it in two-wheel drive in that corner as well. Comes in hot, comes a little wide. No four-wheel drive to bring it together. You see Carl also sliding through. That is our Skyjacker shock of the race. Greaves from 1 to 4.
Let's go to Kelly.
Here with Kyle LeDuc and Scott Douglas, who are reminiscing about their own battle on their track. And I got to ask you, Kyle, what were you thinking as you're up there dicing around with Johnny Greaves, Carl, and Scott Douglas, the veterans of this group?
Oh, yeah. I mean, I'll tell you what, I got a taste of clean air. So that's something to get me encouraged. And Rockstar Makita Calgard on the podium, you know, hooked up with Toyo, and they threw mud at us, and I didn't really have much for these guys. But I think I showed them I can run with them, and we banged, we touched, but we're all here at the end. You know, nobody crashed, and it was clean racing. Johnny gave me this one, though.
Well, and Scott Douglas, just saying, it was clean racing there with Kyle. And talk about you. You come across here with a tire that's been shredded. I mean, there was a lot of carnage out there, wasn't it?
Oh, absolutely. But it was true clean racing. I mean, what a group of professionals. And this is what the fans come to see is watch a group of professionals like ourselves go out there and battle back and forth. And I don't know how fun it was to watch, but, man, it was exciting to be driving this Kumo Amsoil F-150.
Well, it certainly was exciting, I can tell you that. One of the most exciting Pro 4 races we've seen, Ken.
Couldn't agree with you more, Kelly. Spectacular race, and we're going to show you what the points look like after that event. Carl Renesetter, 464 points, goes to the top of the pile. Scott Douglas in second place. Rick Huseman rounds out the top three. So Carl back up top. Rick Huseman falls from the top down to third. Johnny Greaves in fourth, and Kyle LeDuc, the kid, rounding out the top five. A lot of racing yet to do here in this season, though, before we find out who's going to remain on the top and capture that championship at the end of the year. Don't go away. We'll be back with more here. You are watching Championship Off-Road Racing from the Fairplex in Pomona. It's been a great day with great racing. Now they can all hit the links and play a little golf. But before we do that, we're going to send it down to Kelly, who's made her way over to Johnny Greaves.
Certainly a disappointing end for Johnny Greaves after a tremendous run from the back of the pack, losing it in the last turn. What happened to the truck?
We seem to have run into something while we were out there, and on the last lap coming through the whoops, we snapped a front axle, which in turn pretty much takes out your front wheel drive. When the front diff can't feel one of the wheels turning, it doesn't give power to either one. So I came into the turn not even knowing, and then dropped the hammer like I always would, and just wanted to stay clear from Carl, and looped it out. So it was too bad, but you know what? It was the best fourth place finish I've ever had, because that was just a blast to race. Everyone, as clean as we could race each other, we raced each other clean, because after they put the water on and everything else, it was really hard to stay off of one another. But hey, we got a race to the front, and everyone respected each other, and I don't think anyone took anyone else out. It was just a little pushing and shoving and rubbing, and we just didn't survive.
We certainly had your work cut out from you, starting in dead last. You worked your way through the field, and then when you got up to Carl, tell me about getting around him that first time to get out front.
Yeah, it was pretty intense. I got around him the first time, and I kind of gave myself a little breather. I said, all right, now we can just put down some laps, and he got back by me right away. And, that last turn there after the whoops, it was so wet. It was just a slide job game. You just came in there and you slid into the next guy and waited for, the truck to hook up, and off you went. And, that I think 2 laps from the end, me and Carl might have went around that whole track side by side, just rubbing on each other. And but it was a clean race. I respect Carl's driving. I think he respects mine, and we put on a show, and I hope the fans are happy. I mean, like I said, I'm satisfied. It was a fourth, but I'm still satisfied because I felt like, Johnny Greaves back in the seat. I've been a little tentative this year, and we got the truck doing what I do best, and that's getting down on the bottom of the track, and we were struggling today with that. So, I grabbed my tires, threw my old groove back on them, and made some suspension changes, and man, the thing went where I wanted it to go.
And I was going to ask you, we've seen a lot of these top teams kind of have a roller coaster season up and down, and you're certainly included in that group. So where are you guys at right now?
Oh, I think we got the Pro 4, back where it needs to be. I mean, that class is just so competitive. I mean, they're all competitive, but the difference between a Pro 4 and a Pro 2 is a Pro 4 has to be really good because, it has so much traction, where a Pro 2, it doesn't need the best motor and the best everything because a lot of it's wasted in wheel spin. So, our Pro 4 has to be perfect. It has to be running tip-top, and the gearing has to be right, and it has to turn right, because everybody can just drop the hammer and them things just pull out of the turns. And, our best trick is just getting underneath them because, the big horsepower can run the berms and, just hammer down on the outside. So we got to stay low and just buzz that girl like she likes to.
Johnny, happy to come away with a 4. Thanks, Johnny.
Yep, thank you.
Well, he definitely put on a show for the fans here today. Coming from last up to first, unfortunately just couldn't make it stick.
Just a work of art going through the entire group, all the traffic, everything he had to deal with, the slippery conditions, to have an axle break at the very end. Gut-wrenching, unbelievable. Another great day for Carl Renesetter.
I'm sure he wanted to be out there anyways. Carl Renesetter kind of went straight through that turn there. I wonder what would have happened if Johnny was out there. So it was an exciting finish. Carl Renesetter brings home a win in the Pro 4 division. A guy that was not so fortunate here today, struggled right at the very beginning of the race. Kelly Stavis is with him.
Rick Huseman will be the first to tell you that luck plays a big part in racing. It wasn't on your side today. Tell me what was going on with the truck.
Yeah, my FabTech Toyota Toyo truck was it was working great today in practice and qualifying. We felt we had a good truck, and then, like I always tell everybody, 75–80% of this is luck. And then we go into the first turn, and Barlow spun in front of us, and I just got hammered from behind, and I felt like I was in a pinball machine, and that ended up taking out a front tire, and we lost third gear eventually, and so we ran the race with no third gear and tried to salvage what we could.
You came into this thing with a points lead. What do you think is going to take to either get that back or carry on and get a championship in this class? We've seen a lot of up and downs in a lot of these teams.
Yeah, I think the best thing to do is just finish the races under power. That's what our goal is this whole year, is just finish the race under power and try and be there at the end, you know, and I think that's what it's going to take, because there's going to be people are going to be breaking all year, you know, and this is just one of our bad days, you know. So hopefully we'll have a good day tomorrow.
Besides the bumping that you endured before that first restart, there was a lot of passing, bumping going out there, but a lot of the racers saying it was clean. What was your take on the race out there today?
Everything seemed fine to me except for just that first turn, you know. I think CORR brought the K-rail in a little bit from the last race, and it bunched everything up a little bit right there, and it made everything really tight. So I don't know. That's just the bad luck, I guess.
Better luck tomorrow. Thanks, Rick.
Thank you.
It's a hard-fought day here for wins at the Fairplex in Pomona. And for other guys, it was just a rough day all around. Come on back to Championship Off-Road Racing. Championship Off-Road Racing on Speed has been brought to you by Amsoil, the first in synthetics, and by Monster Energy Drink. What a spectacular day out here at the Fairplex. There's a look at the results in the Pro 4 category. Carl Rennesetter, Scott Douglas, Kyle LeDuc. What a great run for him. He did beat and bang in there with the best that Pro 4 has to offer, Cam.
Definitely, you gotta love the heart Kyle LeDuc put out there. A brand new truck, family getting together with them. I mean, just a total team effort for those guys, and I love what he's doing. The Pro 4 Racing, are you kidding me? You know, you talk about it being a fight, a prize fight. This was mixed martial arts. I saw grappling out there. I didn't expect it, but they threw it down.
Yeah, and the second they had somebody down, they'd get right back up and join the fight again. That was probably the most exciting part of it. It seemed like every time they get around by somebody, they would get back around them. So it was a spectacular race, certainly one to mark down in the history books. And the guy that won it all, when it was all said and done, Carl Rennesetter, once again, the cream seems to rise at the top.
You know, you can never count Carl Rennesetter out, and nobody ever does, but it seems like you start trying to find other people to talk about. All of a sudden, here comes Carl, here comes Carl. He's got the #1 on the side of his truck for a reason. He is a bad man. You put him behind the wheel, and you know, even though there was so much chaos out there in Pro 4, Carl sliced, diced, and came up with the goods, man. I mean, slicing and dicing, he had a heck of a salad when it came to the end, and it was definitely the one he wanted.
Back to the theme of this show at the very beginning, we talked about the teams that needed to make a run and get set up for that run for the championship here in 2008, because it will be a dogfight right to the very end. I think one of those guys that stepped up in Pro 2 has to be Todd LeDuc.
Definitely. You got to get your feet underneath you at some point in the season. 4 rounds, okay, that's the beginning. We're getting towards the middle. Everybody's saying you got to have it together by the middle. But now is the time to show your stuff. And Todd LeDuc, I mean, the team going through adversity. He had to borrow part from Carl Rennesetter. Wow, talk about good karma for Carl. Todd comes out, puts it together, but you also got to remember that the guys we've been talking about continually, Rob McCachran, Ricky Johnson, although they didn't have exactly what they wanted, they were tactical, they put it together, their trucks were great, and once again, they're right there in the top of the mix, boxing it out, and they were very solid. And those two guys really are looking like the cream of the crop. Also, huge kudos to Jeremy McGrath, the king of Supercross. He's making his move. I love his style, very methodical, and he's not roughing it up with a lot of people. He plays rough when he needs to, but he's not being rude for a guy who knows how to pass block on a dirt bike. I really am enjoying what he's doing.
And in Pro Light, Jeff Kincaid steps up, captures another win, the first one to win more than one here this season, and Casey Curry, he makes a nice move.
Definitely, and Casey Curry, very solid individual. He comes out with a truck that wasn't working. His team gets together, they scramble, they cut apart, they fix, they change, they work it out. Guess what? Casey Curry's back on the podium. Thumbs up to him and all his crew for all the hard work those youngsters have been putting in.
It's been an outstanding day of racing. All three professional categories put on quite a show. And of course, we cap things off with the Pro 4 division. It has been spectacular. And if you like excitement, well, then you love championship off-road racing. Our next race here on Speed will be Saturday, July 26th at 6 p.m. We'd love to see you there. It'll come from Chula Vista, just south of San Diego. And all the stars of championship off-road racing will be back looking for yet another win. We want to thank you all for joining us. We hope you had a great time watching the best racing. For Kelly Stavros and Cam, I'm Ken Stout.